having to come up with stuff that, because talking about that is really dangerous in a rah-rah setting, it's very easy because our industries have over time evolved in a way where we kind of have a little bit of, we don't have the kind of mutual respect that maybe we both should have for each other's business. Like, we think realtors' business really easy. They think our business really easy. The fact is we both do super, super hard work, just different work. So as far as this thing coming in, we haven't actually seen a client bring it to us. And I think it's because the agents would have to then start implementing this in a really real way and believe Gary's message before we start seeing it come in front of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no doubt. And I would have been shocked if we had heard that, someone lost a loan because of it. And I think, at this point, first of all, it certainly lets you inside of the head of the CEO of Keller, a large, you know what he's thinking, what he's planning, and, whether or not, this particular sales touch point is effective or not, TBD, but no matter how you slice and dice it, it is an opportunity for us to, take that news and turn it into opportunity. So
all our biggest accounts are Keller accounts. Like our top 5 biggest ones are all Keller guys. So, I mean, it's kind of to Todd's point, right? It is going to eventually be relevant, which is why I think this call is super important and cool that you put together, Dave.
Dave Gallegos, what are your thoughts? And have you seen anything, and any thoughts that you have?
Not yet. And we have a satellite office. My top producer works down the hall from the biggest Keller office in Denver. And when I mentioned this to him last night, he goes, "Oh, yeah, I think I heard something about this." And so he's kind of oblivious. And he said, "Yeah, I think I saw something on Facebook or something." And he goes, "I've been getting more Keller Williams leads the last 60 days than I have the last year. It's just been crazy." And so we haven't seen it yet. We're going to. We know we are. My initial take on it is, I agree with Danny. You got to know who his audience was. And I think he's speaking to in my opinion, he's speaking to the 93% of the agents out there that do 7% of the business that are frustrated. They're not getting more business. And he loses those agents all the time to other companies. And so I just think that's what I think. We'll see. We'll see because we work with some pretty heavy hitter agents in that office and around town. So it'll be interesting to see. I agree with you. It's TBD. But it's still, to me, it speaks to this value proposition. We all know that it's a very misleading representation of mortgage is what it is. It's extremely misleading. Yeah. And that'll come out, I believe.
What are your thoughts, Jim McCrae?
When I was watching that video, my first response was, I was literally shocked by the arrogance. It was, wow. It really kind of took it was like a gut shot, like you knocked the wind out of you. It was unbelievable. It's funny. I've got a guy that has come to work for me from the financial services industry, 30 years financial planning and all that. And almost a day doesn't go by that he doesn't remark how much there is to know and how he had no idea it was like this in the mortgage business. Kind of to Danny's point about not appreciating each other. I think it sort of reminds me a little bit of the builders lenders, so builders lenders, why are they doing that? A variety of reasons, but the money's got to be there. I mean, we all know anybody that operates a P&L kind of knows the score in this business, right? And so there is no free. The largest cost is in commissions in most cases. So what are they going to do? They're going to do what builders do, pay 25 basis points and get order takers, and it's just not going to work. So at some point there's going to be some dissatisfaction that grows, and as Dave said, I think it's going to be the low end of the spectrum, which is almost all the agents that are going to be attracted to it. Although I will tell you, I've only heard it one time from a Keller agent. It was from one of their top agents who does a lot of business, who was telling me about, the free mortgage, all this kind of stuff. And the hilarious thing, actually, literally, you're not going to believe this. Talk about arrogance. They must be learning from the master. I get a phone call not 2 days later, him asking me for $500 to support some open house thing he was doing. And I started laughing. I said, Terry, do you have any idea why I'm laughing? And he says, no, what? And so I told him, I said, you've got to be kidding me, And he was so enthusiastic about this no-cost mortgage. I said, why don't you go get the $500 from the no-cost guy? And I laughed. It's just, so I don't know. Who knows? Like you said, who knows what's going to happen with it? It is going to have some effect. I think in developing a strategy to combat it, it's kind of like you said, Dave. I think it's transparency. I mean, we know the money's got to be somewhere. And so it seems like Gary Keller is doing this to protect his people's commission. Well, he said that's what he was doing. So let's just take a clip from that and play it every time you see it. Every time you run against it, play it for the customer. He puts it right down out there in the public domain. It's just unbelievable. Crazy.
Yeah, cool. So Dan Keller, what are your thoughts?
Y'all hear me?
We do.
Okay. I think Jim's spot on. I think knowing about the program and knowing about the process is going to help you out. So knowing as you go into the market and you're selling, being able to sell against that. I think up here in Seattle, I do business with about 3 high-performing KW agents, and both of them drink the Keller Williams Kool-Aid. They're always, recruiting. And I talked to them when they got back from their most recent conference, and not one of them has indicated that they are going to be moving in that direction. In fact, they were leaning on me going, hey, how do mortgages work? Like, how is this going to work? And I said, just like preferred lender for a builder, the money's there. It's an MSA type situation. And I told them, I said, you have my commitment if I'd like to see a rate quote. So I can tell you right now, I'm in a couple of different groups on social media, and lenders are wasting a lot of time right now worrying about this versus going out and getting more loans. So that's kind of the approach that I'm taking too, is just getting back out on the streets. And Bill Hart made a good comment earlier. Stay in touch with your agent, stay in touch with your database, and then know about the program. Understand it. I'm going to do a video this weekend, and I'm going to send it out to my agents and kind of get it out to them before they hear about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of why I called this going into the weekend is I just knowing how much buzz it's getting within KW agents and our industry. I mean, if nothing else, you want to be the one bringing the news, not the one following it. And then I do think, that particular document is just everything that Mortgage Coach isn't. It's not the total cost. It's part of the cost with the goal of pushing you into a specific lender or program, whereas a total cost analysis, it's exactly what families want. Coach Todd, Bookspan, what are your thoughts?
I was trying to read the notes there. So, I think that everyone's kind of spot on. I mean, I think to Jim's point, right? I mean, the biggest challenge that you have with some other agents, and, probably if anyone see this video online later, they'll shoot me for it. But, they're looking for the dollars from our industry, and the dollars from Keller Mortgage go to Gary. They don't go to the agents. And so that's where the internal clash that they're having is. And so, I loved Bill Hart's message that Dan mentioned earlier. I mean, in the end, what you teach, Dave, what this community is all about is sort of the way we've got to be focused on going forward. I mean, there's always going to be new things that are going to come after us, right? We have Rocket Mortgage, we've got Click and Close Mortgage. We have all different things going on. And in the end, what we have is an opportunity as loan officers to go out there and do our best business every day and educate our clients, and then make the experience be the difference versus the price, because there's always someone out there with a lower price. And so if you're not going to take the time to educate them properly, and, obviously to give you props, the TCAs is going to be a piece of that puzzle to get out there and do it. I think that's going to give loan officers the opportunity going forward. And I think you're just going to have to just like always, pick your partners based on the ones who get you and want to work with you, and have the conversation with the ones who are at KW so they know how to sell you when their client gets there. If they're going to sit down, I think that go back to what Dave said, that 7% of agents, right? Some of those agents are going to take the time to sit down and go through the contract with their clients. They're going to get to that disclosure, and then they're going to have a good script from you on how to make sure that that client still knows that you as their loan officer are worth a call when that disclosure is definitely tilted in a fair lending way, according to my good buddy Ken Perry. If you saw his Facebook Live, I thought it was great. And so just be educated and educate your people on how to still make sure that they get them to you, because I think in most cases we sell against price all the time. And so if we've done a good job of scripting our community, readying ourselves for it, and then we've got the tools to show them how there's a different way out there to do business, I think that our community is going to live on another day and do some more loans tomorrow.
Oh, without a doubt. By the way, when you guys were referencing Bill's comment, I put a post in our Mastermind Facebook group. Big news. Gary Keller introduced blank. Zillow announced they're going to start buying and selling homes. What specific strategies are you implementing? And Coach Bill Hart made a whole comment on two things. One, double down on database, which I absolutely believe all the news that's coming out, all the changes that are happening, they all point to the fact that as a mortgage professional, your most valuable asset is the quality of your database and your ability to get all the opportunities out of it. Bill also went on to comment and said, start coaching your realtors to doing annual real estate reviews so that you're further expanding your database, which I know, Danny, I interviewed you about a month ago while you were, going to realtors and coaching them up on annual reviews. Any updates on how that strategy is going?
Honestly, Dave, just between us, it's hard to get realtors to engage their database. There's so much, scarcity and fear, right? It's because, we say, hey, let's do this together. It's going to generate business. You're just like ours, your business. Absolutely. The only way to monetize, if you were a real estate agent, you were going to go sell your business, you'd be selling your gross commissions because of the future business off of your database. That's the asset that you would have to sell. Let's nurture that. You'd need to show the person buying your business that you convert your past clients at this rate in order to monetize this thing. Let's make it real, because that was the context of the presentation, was how to basically make your real estate business thrive so that you can potentially exit. Like, that was part of the context of it. And then we go and follow up, and they're like, I don't really want to share any of this information. What are you going to do with it? Well, I told you what I was going to do with it. I was going to help you get deals out of it. Like, that sounds awesome. And it just kind of fizzles out. It was similar to the kind of resistance we got when we were initially trying to do the move up strategy, Dave, remember? I mean, it took us probably 4 months before we got agents to engage on that and actually provide their, the closings that they did in 2010, 11, and 12. And then when we finally started getting that information, deals started actually running back to the agent because of it. So it's just a process. So right now we're in that phase of business where it's really hard. And if you stop, you don't get over the mountain to where you actually start seeing stuff come off of it.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think I've called on, Sam. Hey, what's up, Sam? I thought I'd called on everybody who I could see in a video. I almost didn't recognize, or no, is that Paul or Sam?
No, that's Sam. Yeah, he's just a mountain man right now.
Yeah, check you out, Sam. I love the beard. How you doing, buddy?
You're on mute, dude.
I've unmuted you on my side.
All right, there you go. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Cool, man. Yeah, no, I decided not to shave in 2018. So, no, you know what? I've been reading about it. I've seen the form. I've talked to Keller Williams agents. I just put it in perspective. I mean, I think he completely underestimates the complexity of the mortgage business. I mean, somebody said, arrogance is probably one describer of it, but to think you can go buy a call center, a refi call center mortgage company, which is what he said, and serve purchase clients throughout the nation, I just think is almost laughable. I mean, yeah, there'll probably be some sector of the market, 5, 10, maybe even 10% that goes for it. But as soon as you hit a mortgage coach, you know, you show that, oh, wait, you don't have 1% origination, and you don't have, you know, you can credit these lender fees too. And I just think there's so many things that if we think about, hey, if we pretend that a realtor never refers us another deal, what would we do? Let's go to our TBDs. Let's go to our past client database. Let's start providing value other ways. So I think we should just be proactive and keep lead generating, keep prospecting. One of the biggest Keller agents I know had this choice, and he actually chose to hire a loan officer on our team to work in his office. I mean, literally right after he came out of family reunion, which to me was a big tell of where this is going. But I have a feeling there's problems with the form also. I think it's probably got some regulatory issues. But I just don't think, we're always dealing with internet lenders, somebody that's paying somebody 15 basis points to price better than us. I mean, it's not like we haven't, competed against this stuff before. So there was a big Keller Market Center that had a robot running through it where people can log in and literally punch in their app right there on the machine and go get their Keller mortgage. Here we are 6 months later, the robot's gone. We're still going in there meeting all our agents. I just think it's a phase. I think he's completely underestimating. It just presupposes that we don't do anything. I mean, if you talk to Keller agents, it's drilled into them like you need to get, money from all these services. You're the one that provides everything. You need to get money from everyone. I mean, imagine if we went out with a form and said, hey, do you know that you could probably go check 3 other agents, and I'm sure they would all be happy to credit you $5,000 back at closing. If you want to go ask, I guarantee you could probably easily in 30 minutes find an agent that will credit you back $5,000 at closing. So, I mean, when the real professionals know the service that we provide, and I'm honestly not worried about it.
So let's do a round of, not that we're worried about it, but let's face it, the community that we serve is both, top producers. Most of the people I've called on, I mean, everybody is, not just in the top 1%, you're in the highest echelon of our space. And so, you guys all use CRM, everybody, you do total cost analysis. But let's face it, within our community, the folks that will listen to the recording, they're not doing the right thing. Some of them don't use their CRM. Some of them aren't intentional about their database. So I'd like to go around this group one more time because we got about another half hour and have you just do you have any scripting? Like if you went to a Keller agent and they asked you about this, I'd love to know, how you respond. And then if there is one thing that, coming out of this, the news about Zillow buying and selling houses, let's just face it, there is disruption coming into our space. What is the one strategy that you're going to implement? Like Sam, you already kind of gave a tell, like, hey, part of your thought is, if I didn't get a lead from a realtor, I'll still be okay because you're leveraging your database. But I just want to hear everybody's big strategy and hear a little bit of scripting. Let's start with you, Danny. If you could give us one, some scripting, and then 2, if there's one strategy that you're going to double down on.
I mean, as it relates to this topic, like the Keller mortgage topic and this forum in particular, because I think the forum can be a conversation starter for us, right? So right. The first thing I would ask the agent is, hey, but what's the rate? Right? Like what, obviously we always try to stay away from that, but let's fight fire with fire in this case, right? But what's the rate? And then if I'm sitting across from the Keller person, right, that we're in a relationship with, and they say, hey, have you seen this? Is this freaking you out? Right? Kind of like the conversation that we're having today, but with them, right? They bring it to us. I'd be like, hey, Whitney, we can do this. right? One, when's the last time one of your clients has paid a point with us? Like, remember that guy that we helped with his closing costs because he found out that he had to pay off a car repair right before closing, and then we weren't able to put the deal together, so we gave him a lender credit at the last minute. Like, that's this thing that they're just reframing it in a different way. It's like a doctor advertising that he's going to have a nurse help him, and that's why you should go use him. Like, it's all the same stuff, like, but they're just putting it in a form of marketing. This is not a loan disclosure, it's a marketing piece. And if you need us to make you a marketing piece, we'll do it right now, right? It's not going to look like this because we need to have information that's really meaningful to a client. Because if your client uses this and takes it and then shops this against somebody like me, and I pull this up in front of me, we would tear that other lender apart in a way that would make you look bad for having recommended them. So our commitment to you is that we're never going to embarrass you. If you think that this piece of paper can make that same commitment, then more power to you, dude. But if you need to get referrals from your current clients, referrals from your past clients, the most predictive thing of those future referrals is the client experience during the closing. And we can help you with that. We've done it literally 50 times, right? So, kind of just, I don't want to say sweeping it under the rug, but just showing like there's already a reason that they're using us. Now, as far as the agents that are going to go forward with this, and this is going to be their main thing, I think it was Jim that said the client experience is not going to be there, and eventually it's going to fizzle out. It's just a shiny object in that case.
Yeah, well, I want to break down what you did because I thought it was super smart. You asked, what's the rate? And then you're like, and I can do a version of this, So it's just a question of what's right for the client. So I think that was slick, smart. And I like the direction you went. If there is one strategy that, knowing everything that's going on in our space, if there was one strategy for 2008 that you're 18, that you're really going to implement or double down on, what would that one be?
So Sam and I are business partners for those of the on this call that don't know. And so we're going big on database. And actually Jared here, who's with me, is our director of marketing. Who's really kind of opened our eyes to this and others, by having participated. But it's all about going deeper. We don't need more. We don't need to meet any more people for our business to thrive. We just need those people that have already met us and like us to do more business with us, right? It's always less expensive and more fun to have a repeat client than maybe the psycho crazy energy vampire that you just met at the grocery store, right?
Love it. Dan Keller, any thoughts on your scripting? Keller agent, like Danny says, hey, what do you think of this, Dan? Or does this concern you? What do you say?
Yeah, that first off, Danny, I took a couple of notes from yours. I think that's incredible how you just turn it right back on the agent and you put their reputation on the line. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm really big on when I'm meeting with new agents, my new agents, or establishing a relationship, that we're going to deliver a wow process that leads to referrals. Our number one job is to get you referrals out of delivering an incredible mortgage experience. And so when I talked to the two Keller Williams agents that I mentioned earlier, I just asked that, and knowing in advance that one, this is a call center, knowing that it's a round robin, so they're not going to be assigned a rep. I went into the meeting saying, hey, Lance, so you know how we work. You know that you can get a hold of my loan partner 1 or loan partner 2 any time of the day. You can reach me via text and cell. Our wow checklist. And so have you had a chance to sit down with your Keller mortgage rep yet to make sure that they can deliver that same experience so that will lead to more referrals for you? And I put it on them. And so Lance's response was, we haven't had a chance to talk with our rep yet. And he doesn't even know that it's a round robin call center. So, and that's up here in Seattle. I don't know. It sounds like it's more progressive in other areas in the U.S. But right now, they have no clue that it's even a call center. They're thinking that they're going to get assigned a rep, I think. So I'm putting it on them. Hey, as long as you connect with your rep and they can provide this level of service and you're fine with that, then it's going to come down to rate. It's going to come down to their offer, but it's going to come down to way more than that.
Love it. And if you had one strategy that just given everything that's going on, that you're doubling down in 2018. What is that for you?
It's the sales process. I think there's a lot of disruption in our industry right now. So what I went back through and reevaluated is just my sales process, what we do from start to finish, our scripting, what we're saying to clients and agents up front, addressing the, whether it's rate shoppers or addressing the KW or the Keller mortgage issues right now, but becoming a better salesperson and then just tightening our systems for converting and controlling the sale.
Converting and controlling the sale. Tightening our systems. That's pro, buddy. I like that a lot. Let's see, who wants to go next? Dave Gallegos, you want to share? I know you're not, I don't think you're a producing branch manager, but nevertheless, I know you could come up with some scripting here.
No, we've and we're already starting this discussion. It's fun. It's actually fun. This business can get kind of mundane at times. You get into that, and then something like this happens, and it fires you up. Right? This is kind of fun. And so, just listening to everybody on this call, this is fun because the first thing is it's not kellermortgage.org. We know that, right? There's no volunteers at Keller Mortgage. Everybody's getting paid, so everybody knows what's happening with that. And then I couldn't agree more. A refi lender can't close loans in 21 days. That's easy. That's easy. And we're in Colorado. I'm in a very competitive. It's an extremely competitive market. I know there's lots of markets like this all over the country. You got to be able to close. And there's backup offers on almost every deal. So consumers losing earnest money because the deal can't close is common. The deal doesn't. This stuff happens. So those are all the points that that become the counter arguments. The strategy is we always have engaged earlier, right? Like that's what lenders do. It's what at least if you've been in this network and you're in the Duncan network going back to the early when you first met, database was everything, and we are better. I haven't met an agent that's as good at databasing or client management, even close to the people that you interact with in this community, right? So, we all hate getting a client and talking to the client the first time when they just went under contract. That's not how we work, right? Like we want the client early on in the process. If they're making the decision to buy a house and that's when they're hearing about Keller Mortgage, I think we have a huge leg up on the competition as it relates to that. So I don't think there's a lot to worry about. To me, you and I talked earlier, Dave. I couldn't agree more. Explaining the value of total cost analysis and educating people on why that's so important. All you have to do is sit down with almost any real estate agent and you show them a total cost analysis, and especially with the mobile version of it that you guys have done a great job with. They're in awe of what's happening. And so I think there's just this next step is educating, giving, maybe it's something that my guys haven't done that I'll be coaching them to do, is explain how no closing cost loans work. You want a no closing cost loan, they're always available. It's not like it's something that you can't give. This extra $1,000 that they're supposedly given, it's so funny to me. It's like, and it's like a free loan, like no one's getting paid. It's like it's a .org. It's hilarious. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, let's all keep an eye out, and I'd love to see a mortgage coach total cost analysis that someone puts together competing with, a Keller Mortgage or, and by the way, it's not just Keller, it's real estate owned. I think my message to everybody in this group, I get two takeaways. One, that, hey, at least Keller, CEO of the company, whether you like the strategy or not, he is going out and he's leading his organization. He's implementing a strategy and he's leading. And I think everybody on this call is a leader. You lead branches, you lead organizations. And I think we as mortgage professionals, part of the response needs to be that, figure out the touch points of the sales process that matter. And we need to lead our organizations. We need to raise the standards, because if we're going to, thrive, not survive the storm, because no one here wants to survive. We all want to thrive and lead. it's really going to come down to, our leadership and our ability to get our teams and our organizations to deliver, value-based sales experiences. So by the way, anybody who's watching this on Facebook Live, if you have questions, I am keeping an eye on that. So you see me look down. I'm not responding to text and emails. I'm responding to you. So feel free to ask this group questions. Jim McQuaig, what are your thoughts? Scripting and strategy.
I'm not on the street anymore. Although you'll be proud of me. A past client sent me an email yesterday. Did his loan in 2004. Came in today, and I did a TCA for him, and I'm actually doing a loan. So of course, everybody in the office is like walking me through every step of the way. So I feel like a child, but hopefully I'll get through it. Anyway, so that was exciting. It was an exciting day. In terms of coming up with stuff, I mean, Danny, Dan, Dave, I feel like an idiot listening to you guys. That was just brilliant. All of you guys. It was awesome. I got nothing to add. I hope you recorded this. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's recorded. What about strategy? Anything, knowing that you lead a large branch, I mean, you lead a big group to a lot of volume, anything that you're going to implement at your level to, thrive given the change?
Yeah, the big new initiative, and, maybe dusting off an old initiative and really just getting way more intentional about it and automated and kind of on it with accountability is the AMR stuff you've been pushing for the last 6 months or so with a lot of the training you've been doing. I just know that's the ticket. I mean, and we have not done as good a job. I mean, no, I don't think anyone is going to say they've done as good a job as they can do on that. And so that's a point of focus this year for me. It's very similar to what he's been saying around the database. Same sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I absolutely believe that. By the way, AMR, for anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's annual mortgage review. And I will tell you, I interviewed Wally Elderberry this Tuesday, and he has been executing it. He's been measuring his results. I can't remember everything. I want to say that he had done, let's just say 110 annual reviews. 70 to 80 of them actually resulted in a TCA, and there was 30 some odd apps, and he's funded 24 loans year to date, in 3 months that off of his annual review program. And I interviewed him. I'll put a link below. Anybody watching the recording, check it out. But he was this Tuesday's interview. And then I think something that's interesting about that is Wally did about 80 million last year, and his goal was to do 100 this year. And when we looked at his numbers, is if he hadn't have been doing those annual reviews, he would have been flat for the year. He's up like 30%, but that 30% that he was up, it's basically because he's been implementing annual reviews. So I thought that was interesting. It's both a success story and case study in the making. And like I said, I'll put a link below. Wally Elderberry out of Dallas, Texas. He is executing, Jim. So anybody want to ask a question or raise your hand? Jeff Nunley, I have unmuted you. But by the way, I think a lot of you are unmuted that you're just not talking. Anybody else want to ask a question or chime in with what you're approaching? I've just been calling on the people that have their videos on. All right, I'm going to give one last second. We've got just another 5 or 10 minutes.
Hey, Dave, can I throw something in then while we wait for someone else to raise up their hand? So I think it goes off of what Dan said. I think customer, I kind of mentioned before, I think the client experience. So for my team, since I sit where Dave and Jim are not originating anymore, we're investing heavily in the customer experience. We bought a new office building, and we're building it around a great client experience. And I don't think we'll be able to get 100% of the people to come into, to the doors, but I think that'll be a way for us to have a better process. If you're going to be competing against Rocket Mortgage and call centers, then I think it's, what are you doing to make the client connected to you? And so that's what my my belief is, especially after the mastermind calls we've had with people like Jen Duplessis, who says she closes like under 40% over the phone, but over 90% when she meets with them face to face. That's our other strategic initiative. And then I do think it just comes back to doing the proactive piece, right? I mean, doing what these guys are talking about with their agents. I mean, I love Dan's conversation where, remind your agents that you can do the exact same thing. And I think that, basically being proactive, maybe with a TCA, with your agents now, Keller and otherwise. I mean, even your non-Keller agents may be wondering, well, hey, they're giving away free loans. Why can't you? And just educate them. Give them a TCA that shows here is a loan with a point, which is what we don't normally do. Here's a loan that we normally do that has no points or low costs. And then here's one that has that higher rate. Because we all know that most of our clients in today's market would much rather pay their fees and have a market rate versus having an above market rate and having a quote unquote free loan.
Yeah, no doubt. Good point. By the way, Bryce just commented in Facebook Live. He said, what are you guys seeing in terms of margin compression? So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that, how big of a topic that is in your practice, in your market. I know it's affecting everybody, but some folks I talk to are maintaining their conversion rates. Some people are losing a few more. Anybody want to comment on how you're addressing pricing compression or whether it's a factor?
Can I actually add to the question, because I actually want to hear from the leader, like the true leaders and business owners on the call. But to add to that question, responding to the companies in your marketplace that are positioning for a sale or in really a super tough spot. This just happened in our market where there's a pretty heavy Skyline presence, and then they were essentially in a transition over to Finance of America. And in that period of time, their rate sheet just got bananas. And we knew because of industry connections that this was probably happening, but communicating that to a client, we just couldn't figure out a good way. Eventually it solved itself, right? They became Finance of America, rate sheet jacks back up, and then everything's fine. But in that time, that's a hard conversation to have. Does anybody have any scripting around that as well?
Yeah, and by the way, let's also not mention specific lenders, but speak to the question and any scripting around that. Anyone?
We've seen that, no doubt about it. When rates jump up the way they have, there's going to be, and it happens every time, there's going to be a season of time when companies develop strategies to deal with it. And one of the strategies would be to use it as an opportunity for some market share, to do things then for a season, because people do tend to be a little more tuned in on pricing when they see things have gone up the way they have. So that's what I've seen. I probably, in all honesty, probably have needed to do more than my normal amount of pricing concessions. But there is a limit to it. I mean, I keep track of it. There's only so much you can do, and I'm not willing to lose money for it. Clearly, some companies are, and that's a strategy that they're using. I think I'm actually starting to see it dissipate, though. It was really strong the last couple of months, but I think in the last week or two, I haven't seen it quite as much. I don't know if that's true with everybody, but it seems like it hasn't been as much of an issue just lately. So that would go with my whole idea of it. It is going to fizzle out at some point because they can only do it so long,
Any other comments? Any other commentary around that topic?
I'm in Georgia right now for the NAMBA Connect conference where I'm speaking, and I was talking to a regional from an unnamed national company, and he said that his LOs have full control and can discount up to 100 basis points. And so I asked him what his average was, and he said it's looking about 81 basis points as their average concession right now. And I just said, gosh, if you're giving LOs that much leeway, they're going to take it. And, historically when I was running branches and if they had 25 basis points to play with, they just always tended to give it away. And so it's interesting. I'm sort of surprised because he tried to say that went on to say that he felt like they had competitive rates in their marketplace, that they were in the middle. And that seemed pretty extreme to me. I don't know what else you guys are seeing out there.
We might be talking about the same national lender, but in my market, their prices are extremely high with the same opportunity to reduce, I've heard, but there's a lot of turmoil in it. And we've seen less in the last, when I say there's a lot of turmoil in the group is what I'm hearing and what we're hearing in the marketplace. But it can't last. It never lasts forever. And I've been in the business. I hate it when people say, I've been in the business for 20 years. And every time I've been in an increasing rate environment, this is always the result is you see, and it happens because the refi guys aren't getting any refis anymore. And so, and all the direct guys, like we have there are 4 or 5 guys that advertise really heavily on TV just in the local Denver market. And, they're not getting their business. And so they start lowering the price to get the phone to ring and it kind of filters through. And what I've always seen is that this is the opportunity. And if you're a purchase focused company like we are, and I'm sure everybody on here is, you know that there's a purge that goes on in the industry where the guys that got into the business and didn't take the long-term career focused approach to being a lender and being a professional, they come in and out of the business. And once it's gone, it's like you notice it because I'm not getting concession requests and it just starts to even itself out. So I just think it's seasonal. But we got 2 things. We got, hardly any refis, a rising rate market, and limited inventory. So it's just kind of a triple effect that's having an impact on all of it, but it never lasts. So all of a sudden the word 5 won't scare people anymore. They're just like, oh, 5, that's great. Right. So it's just whenever you go from, I always felt like whenever you went from a number that was 4 to a number that was in the 5s, you could be at 4 7/8 and still be in the 4s. Right. But at 5, it's like 5, that's really high. It's like, well, that's not, but okay. And so it's just a lot of it's perception, and we just get through it. And you've got to be, as long as you're focused on the right activities, this stuff always works itself off. And then it's usually, the business is a lot better, right? Once the refi guys are gone, it's like, oh, right, we got a lot of business. So.
Yeah, no, that makes lots of sense. I think in a market like this, when you have lots of people focusing on interest rates and programs, it's time to focus on the family's goals and the total cost. Because let's face it, most loan officers don't know how to have that total cost conversation. They don't focus on families' goals. I interviewed Jeremy Forcier last week, and he was talking about, that when I'm doing my total cost analysis like never before, it was valuable last year, it's even more valuable this year. It's families' goals, monthly payment, and their long-term goals, and just trying to stay away from the whole rate quoting and the program selling mode and just focus on the big picture. Hey, Dan Keller, any closing thoughts as we wrap? We've got about 9 more minutes before I want to wrap up this mastermind, but anything you want to ask or anything you want to add?
Yeah, here, I'll share something real quick. One of the things that we're doing up here in Seattle, super competitive, higher tech environment. So people are coming into the process already having an idea of where rates are at. We're part of just tuning up our sales process is addressing it in that mortgage planning meeting right away, whether it's through a TCA right off the bat, and I do the short video or I talk to them up front. I'm sharing a link to Freddie Mac's website. And Freddie Mac publishes like the national norms of where 30-year fixed rates and 15-year fixed rates are every single day. So I screenshot that and I send that out and I say, what you're going to find is that we all draw money from the same pools. We're all pretty congruent in regards to pricing in the marketplace. So I wanted to get this out to you up front. And then when I share the TCA with them and when they come in for a mortgage planning meeting, we address it. I've heard Coach Bill Hart talk about this and other coaches talk about this, where you're on the offense now in regards to rates and presenting loan options versus playing on the defense, where now from a sales standpoint, you appear more salesy, like you're trying to sell them on you and sell them on our rates versus others. And so I just addressed it up front. I'll send a link to Wells Fargo's website, Bank of America's website, and ours, in addition to the TCA and the Freddie Mac site. And as you can see, we're all right there in the same ballpark. And then we can move past rate because I think the consumer feels like I think, Jim, you were just saying, I forget who was just talking. Anytime you get into a higher rate environment, which I've only been in the industry, I've been in the industry since 2009. So I've only seen this one or two other times where rates have actually gone up. And it's really weird. I feel like we get shopped a lot more when rates go up versus when rates were down. And I think it's just the consumer's used to seeing 3.875 or 4. And then when we quote 4.5, they're shocked by it. So I think if you show them that that's the market now, and it's not just us, it's the bigger names, I think that wall, maybe there's more trust built. And we were having a problem with this a couple of months ago, and lately, knock on wood, I'm not getting beat up and I'm not losing people over rate. And I think I will piggyback on what Jeremy Forcier said. If a TCA was important in 2014, it was more important in 2015. It's more important every year. In my business, that software is more and more valuable every single year. So I think he knocked it out of the park with saying that.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying that, Dan. So I want to make sure we speak to Scotty Campbell, had asked, what's the best way to implement an annual review first year of the business? So I'm going to take a quick crack at this. First and foremost, I interviewed Tim Brahim. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but his script for how I can't remember what he calls it. Basically, he's closing the deal and he is selling the fact that, hey, I will help you get your next mortgage too. And it's, he's selling both deals at the same time. So listen to his script. So first year in the business, make sure that everybody that you're bringing in, you're setting that annual review expectation. So they don't just see you as a loan officer that's helping them get the best loan today. I'm helping you get the best loan every month. And you tell them about your annual review. And then also for you first year loan officers, if you've got a branch manager like Dave Gallegos or Jim McQuaig, I'll bet you they have some loans that loan officers are no longer at the company that you could adopt some mortgages. You can start doing some annual reviews by adopting some mortgages that you get from your manager. So that's an idea. Also, you've got people that you would have invited to your wedding list, that you would have invited to your wedding, that you can adopt those mortgages. You don't have to have closed a loan to put a mortgage under management and do an annual review. It always helps if you delivered 5-star service as a loan officer and now you're doing their annual review. That is, the best. But first year of the business, you can be an annual review machine and you can set those expectations exceptionally well with your clients. So I'll put a link below.
Dave, I give you really a good script for that, what you said for adopting orphans or going to your sphere of influence. Just you ask them, do you have anybody that you would call if you needed a mortgage today, or if someone you asked you for a referral, do you have anybody that would come to mind that you'd use? Most people are going to say no. And then you just very humbly say, well, is there any way that I could be that person? If I were to treat you like a client, could I be that person? Almost all of them say yes. And then you treat them like a client. Treat them like a past. Do what you fall through in your commitment. But just humbly calling people and asking is so powerful. And that, I can't tell you, the percentages are so high that you walk away with a big old database full of people that have opted in to having you become their mortgage manager.
Love that. And by the way, if you get in the insurance business, it's called X-dating. You call people up, you say, hey, when's your auto insurance coming up? And, you're new in the mortgage business, start building those mortgages under management. Use Jim's script, give them a total cost analysis. Even if their rates a percentage better than the market, you delivered value. You showed them with clarity and confidence that they're in a good spot, and you're going to be there as rates change, and you're going to be there as their goals change. So we got 3 more minutes. Todd, is there any questions that I'm missing or anything you want to put a cap on this around?
No, I just say I love hearing all these scripts, especially Jim's. I've been thinking about this experience I want to build for my clients or for my team. I'm thinking I have to bring back his 4-step cash flow priority model from the good old days. And, I just think, I think it's just a great opportunity again to get great minds together and do this kind of thing. I got to imagine that anyone who's watching this, when it gets posted up later, or people are watching on Facebook, there's you had to have resonated with some strategy that you heard here from someone who's got great experience, and you just need to get off the phone or get off the video and just start executing. Because I think that that's really where the gap is right now. I can continue to talk to people who say, oh, that's a great idea. And then I follow back up and they're like, oh, I didn't do it. And so I just think that in the end, go back to your story about Wally. I mean, Wally talked to you about that at Sales Mastery in the fall, and he executed on it. And so I think in the end, that's what you all need to do if you're going to drive your business going forward. Because, Danny said he's trying to get, realtors to do a realtor review, right? I mean, again, you mentioned the Zillow thing, and this call's not about that, but that's what they need to do to be proactive. Like we need to do the annual mortgage reviews in our industry. And so in the end, people aren't going to act. And so by you actually taking action today and executing, that's going to put you not above just the Keller Mortgage folks, but really all your other competition who's not doing these things that we know will bring you business.
I just got one more question from Jacob Dickerson. How would you recommend a new loan officer that doesn't have any experience in the industry break in now? I find a lot of lenders in my area will not give you the time unless you have 1 to 2 years experience. Any suggestions? So by the way, Jacob, I'll give one round and I'll let one of the other leaders give Jacob some feedback. One, make sure you listen to our new loan officer playlist in our YouTube channel. A lot of great advice. In terms of looking for a company, I recommend, Jacob, you look for a mentor. I think, in this market, if you could go to work for a successful team or mentor and get some reps under your belt, close some loans, working for a team is the way to break into the business. Now, I'm not saying you can't just jump in as a loan officer and kill it. With the right organization, with the right support, it's possible. But, my advice is, Jacob, watch those videos and go find a mentor. Any one of the 5 of you guys want to give Jacob a quick answer?
I'll just agree with you. There's 100 students at this conference today, and the smart ones are going around and they're asking people what they have going on. And my advice that I gave to, pretty bright finance major was to just make sure that she's asking lots of questions. And then in the end, I saw her talking to some big organizations, and I said, you need to figure out who it is where you won't just be a number. You don't want to be a class of 50 new people they hired to do the job. You want to find somewhere where they're going to have a vested interest in you, someone who will mentor you. So I would just echo what you said. I think there's lots of, I don't know where you are, Jacob, but I got to imagine that there's some superstar either on this call today or in the mortgage coach community who you could reach out to, and not, who would probably even mentor you. Not saying that you have to go to work for them, but I think that this is such a giving community. Find someone here, and then, use some of these people like Danny and, as a virtual mentor as well. I think there's just a great opportunity for that.
Really quick comment to that, Jacob, is if you're being told no, you have a skill set you can bring. You're a warm body that can be making calls, right? You're being told no. It's probably because the company's perceiving some risk, right? Delve into that risk that they see you representing and de-risk the situation, right? If they're afraid of giving you a 4-month guarantee, tell them, I'll work for free. I don't need a dime until I start producing. If they're, whatever it is that their fear point is, take it away so they have no answer to give you except yes.
Good advice, Danny. Love it. Hey guys, I really appreciate you making time to deliver value. For those of you that listened in, hopefully it was a valuable hour of your time. And if you're watching the recording and you got value from this, like it and share it to your mortgage friends. Have an awesome weekend, everybody.
Thanks, Dave.
It was good seeing you guys.